Assalamualaikum and good day, dear audience. I'm Miss Nazura. Welcome to Group 2 Video Essay Presentations. As of today's topic is the supply, demand, and the market equilibrium. But before we start our presentation, let's get to know us.
Demand is referred to a consumer's ability and willingness to purchase certain goods and services at a fixed price over a given period of time, ceteris paribus, which means holding other factors constant while some other factors change. It differs from desire and wish, where it will not cause producers to manufacture and sell the product in the market. Supply, however, is described as the producer's capacity and willingness to sell or produce a certain product or service that is available to consumers in a certain time frame and at specific price, ceteris paribus.
Why demand has a negative relationship while supply has a positive relationship? Demand. The law of demand is an economic principle that explains the negative relation between the price of a good or service and its demand. According to the law of demand, which has stated that the higher the price of a product, the lower the quantity demanded of the product and vice versa. When all the other things or factors remain constant, there is a negative relationship between price and the demand of goods and services. Thus, this shows a negative relationship as when the price of a good or services increases, the quantity of demand decreases. Supply. The law of supply is seen as the positive relationship between price and the quantity supplied by the economics. According to the law of supply, which has stated that the higher the price of a product, the greater the quantity supplied of the product and vice versa. All variables that affect supply are held constant. Thus, it shows a positive relationship in supply as an increase in price almost always leads to an increase in the quantity supplied of the good or service, while a decrease in price will decrease the quantity supplied.
Hello, I am Intan and I will be explaining question C1. COVID-19 has caused many changes to our country, and this includes our education system and economy. Educational institutions no longer conduct face-to-face classes for the time being in order to prevent the spreading of the COVID-19 virus. Classes rarely use physical textbooks. Instead, they opt for e-textbooks. As a result, the market of physical textbooks will decrease because the market of e-textbooks increases due to online distance learning (ODL). The market for physical textbooks will decrease because there is a surplus in the market, and this causes the price level and the quantity to decrease. By looking at diagram 1, we could see that the demand in the market DD shifts downwards when it moves from DD0 to DD1, while the supply in the market SS remains unchanged. The market equilibrium also shifts downwards, and this will create a new point, and this can be seen from the movement of PE0 to PE1. The price level will go down until it reaches the equilibrium price due to the decrease in demand towards physical textbooks. This can be seen from the movement of PE0 to PE1. The quantity also decreases, and we can see this from the movement of QE0 to QE1. A surplus in the market of physical textbook causes all of these to happen because the seller will reduce the price in order to prevent losses and to reach equilibrium. We could also say that this change in demand is caused by the change in consumer preference. Since students are using e-textbook more for online classes, they rarely use physical textbooks, which causes the demand for it to decrease.
Hello, my name is Martin Anna Peter. Now, I will explain the answer in question C, part 2. So, COVID-19 has bring a lot of impact towards our world, but in this matter, we will talk about aviation-based economy. The real question here is what will happen to daily flight frequency from Kuala Lumpur to Penang when COVID-19 pandemic occurs. Let me explain the answers by referring to the diagram 2.0 shown above. First, the supply curve shown by S shift right. This is because there is an increase of supply by an aviation company to provide a flight services to people. Next, the price equilibrium will shift downwards from the initial equilibrium before. By looking at price as shown by P, there is a drop movement from P1 to P2 because of the decrease of demand of ticket flight services. In the meantime, quantity of ticket supplied was also decreased by viewing a Q symbols. There is a shift of quantity demanded from Q2 to Q1, showing that quantity demanded has lowered down. This is because some people are intended to no longer buying ticket flight in this daring situation, therefore create surplus. In this situation, surplus occur when aviation company has to lower the price of flight ticket. This must be done to cover up the full operating system of flight journey, such as fuel and staff payments. On the other hand, demand curves shown by the symbols D shift to left from D1 to D2. This is because there is a decreased demand of people to fly with plane, therefore affected the frequency of people intended to fly to Penang from Kuala Lumpur. If the tendency of long-term supply of flight services begins to increase, shown in S2 curve, therefore the same process will be repeated again, but with a new number of quantities of tickets supplied, as symbol in Q3 to Q2, an area of supply.
The first type of price control is the ceiling price or maximum price. The ceiling price is a government-imposed regulation that prevents certain prices from rising above a maximum level as set by the government. When government surveys indicate that the prices of essentials commodities such as rice, sugar, and cooking oil are likely to increase, government will impose a ceiling price on these items. The second type of price control is the floor price or minimum price. The floor price is a government-imposed regulation that prevents certain prices from falling below a minimum level as set by the government. The practice of fixing the floor prices is initiated in the agriculture sectors. Price control aims to protect farmers should the prices of commodities be too low in the free market.
Although there is no denying that price controls will have significant economic consequences in the long run, price controls have a better track record in the short term. Generally, imposing price controls on certain goods and services can achieve three things. Firstly, imposing ceiling price will ensure that essential items, such as food, remain available to the majority of people. Consumers are able to purchase goods at a lower cost. This is particularly important if the supplier has monopoly power and uses it to exploit customers. For example, a landlord who owns all of the property in an area may charge exorbitant rents. So in order to keep housing affordable, the government can set a maximum rental price. Moreover, the use of a floor price can make sure that producers' income is protected by ensuring that they receive adequate revenue to allow them to adapt to market conditions and limit the risk of a shortage. This is particularly important in the commodity market, where price fluctuations are frequent. As an example, farmers would face extreme ups and downs if price controls were not in place, making it impossible to continue producing. The government may purchase any surpluses of goods and services. Finally, enforcing a floor price ensures a high wage rate by establishing a minimum hourly wage that can be charged for labor by the government. It is advantageous to protect workers from exploitation. Employers recruit fewer employees when the minimum wage is set higher than the equilibrium market price for unskilled or low-skilled labor. As a result, by raising salaries paid to low-skilled workers, the minimum wage rate has the potential to alleviate poverty. In Malaysia, for example, the government recently established a minimum wage rate for the rubber industry. Every advantage has its disadvantage. When prices are established by commerce in a free market, prices shift to maintain the balance between supply and demand. However, when a government imposes price controls, the eventual consequence can be the creation of excess demand in the case of price ceilings. You can find many examples of this in real life. Just think of gasoline price controls of the 1970s. No government attempting to cap the price of gasoline could change the fact that gasoline producers were only willing to sell an extremely limited supply of gasoline for the price set by the government. This resulted in extreme shortages in gasoline. Equally important, the side effect of price control is the high wage rates will create unemployment problems as the supply for labor is greater than the demand for labor. The minimum wage is an illustration of a price floor, which establishes a baseline per hour wage. This can result in employers hiring fewer employees, and subsequently, the supply of workers exceeds the amount of work available, causing the unemployment rate to go up. In addition, the price control of a maximum price can lead to the emergence of black markets, as people try to overcome the shortage of the good and pay well above the market price. During the Second World War, the price of goods was fixed and goods rationed. However, this encouraged people to sell on the black market through inflated prices. Last but not least, the disadvantage of price control is that it will lead to a lower supply or production. If firms get a lower price, there may be less incentive to supply the good, and the number of properties on the market declines. A company will produce fewer goods or services, which give them less profit, and the quality of goods will reduce.